Hello, it's Toby from Heavyweight MMA here today with Stephen Astro Boy Erceg, a rising star in Australia's MMA Eternal Promotions, currently holding the featherweight title with a record of 7 wins and 1 loss. You're looking great, man. I watched a few of your fights and you're looking really good. I'm excited for your prospect for the future, man.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just plodding along, doing my best, and yeah.
Man, one thing I noticed just watching all the fights I could find, you're just such a well-rounded guy. You know, you're not just one area. I know you mentioned that you're trying to work on your stand-up a little bit, that your strength's probably your ground fighting, wrestling, etc. But you're very well-rounded, man. You're landing beautiful strikes. You're calculated on your feet. You're landing head kicks, knees. You're grappling well. I didn't really, although you mentioned the wrestling, I didn't notice so much wrestling in the fights I saw, but I did see you wrestling. So yeah, I know you've got the wrestling as well, man. It's good. It's good to see someone so well-rounded.
Yeah, well, I think now, especially nowadays, like if you don't have everything, you're gonna get found out eventually. So just preparing myself the best I can. Like if I can't get a takedown, well, I'm standing with the guys. So I got to be able to at least hold my own there. But obviously I want to do better than hold my own. I want to be able to beat everybody there if I can. And then my ground game's like a bonus, but
that's it, man. And I saw one interview and you mentioned that if you could choose, you would choose to go to the UFC as a bigger promotion in the future. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I think they've got the best guys there. And so I want to prove that I'm the best guy. So going to other places are great, but it's not my main aim.
Yeah. So obviously there's nothing against the other organizations, some great fighters, some great shows as well. You look at one, etc. But UFC is kind of the pinnacle, right? So there's nearly everyone would want to be there, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
That's it, man. So I noticed that Eternal MMA has a show coming up on October 30 and they have an advertisement in Perth. It's got a picture of you on the poster. Are you in the show already or it's not confirmed?
Yeah, no, it's confirmed. The post went up a couple of days ago. I'm fighting Loga for the second time. So, yeah, he's been on a bit of a tear since we fought last, and it'll be good.
That was the guy that you finished with was that a choke?
No, it was the left hook.
Oh, left hook. That's right. Yeah, strong guy, and you hooked him on the way in. That's right. Yeah, beautiful shot, man. You said that you surprised yourself a little bit because you're not really known for the power, but you snuck it in there, right?
Yeah, well, my coach has always said, like for years, the one that you're looking, like the punch you're looking to knock somebody out with never knocks people out, but the ones where you're surprised by it, I guess you're relaxed, but they're always the ones that seem to put people out. So yeah,
man. Actually, your stand-up, man, I know, like I said, you mentioned that your wrestling is your strength, etc. But your stand-up looks quite calculated and it's good. And you're always just waiting for those nice counters using your length as well. You're looking quite good with the stand-up, man. Obviously, everyone has room for improvement, but yeah, looking good.
Thank you very much. I put a lot of work into it. As I do everything else, just I think the other stuff came a little bit easier, where it just came a little bit like more effort had to be put into like keep improving. But I think I'm pretty well rounded. So
yeah, man. Hey, just listening to some of your fights commentaries, do you laugh when you listen to the commentaries? A couple of them are so biased, it's fucking hilarious. Like when you fought Tim Moore, it's like they didn't even see you in there. You're fucking dominating the whole fight, but it sounds like if you just listen, you'd think that Tim Moore was fucking winning the whole time, even when he's getting choked.
It is funny. I can't necessarily blame him. Like I know the guy doing the Tim Moore fight specifically with like his teammates, so it is hard to stop that bias. But well, what are you going to do? Like I can't control the commentary, so just go out there and hopefully people look back at it and go, oh, well, that's a little bit silly. Like
it just made me laugh because it was just so funny. Like I know, like you said, everyone has an opinion. You're going to be swung by things like teammates, nationalities, etc. It's how it is. But it was just funny to listen to when it's kind of even you're doing something good. They're just talking about what he's doing. Like, oh, he's defending the hands well. It's not like he's got good full back control and he's killing him. Like
for a while, I was like, what do I have to do to get some love here? But slowly.
That's it, man. And what happened? You fought a guy called Jake Newton. You had some sort of choke stoppage, but the camera was kind of obscured and they didn't show a good playback. What actually happened there? What type of choke was it? Oh, not Jake Newton. Who was that? You did one. Was it Jake Newton or you did one choke where I couldn't see who did it? What you did? Sorry, was that Ray?
There was one fight with Jake Newton a long time ago where there was all sorts of controversy around it, because I think I
Yeah.
got the guillotine.
Yeah.
And obviously, in my opinion, I thought it was over.
Yeah.
But the doctor was not an experienced doctor for fights.
Yeah.
And he misinterpreted the rules and saw the choke and thought the guy was going unconscious. So like basically said, no, that's unsafe, and called the fight,
Yeah.
which they shouldn't really do, but it's apparently within his power to do. So they called the fight, even though the guy didn't tap. So obviously they were upset about it. Obviously, I'd prefer to get the finish like the correct way, and that was whatever it was. But that fight specifically was a guillotine.
Yeah, yeah. And is that the fight with Ray Robinson? You did a nice head kick, then guillotine, correct? That was a different one, yeah. And
100, yeah.
And the guillotine was kind of interesting. You had like the arm over, right? Like a sort of inverted arm. I'd never seen that sort of in an MMA fight before. What would you call that technically?
High elbow.
So high elbow guillotine.
Yeah, I learned it from Marcelo Garcia. So he gets like the hand in line.
Yep.
And then grabs underneath like this, and he basically just raises his elbow up above the shoulder. Yep. And what it stops is the defense, where they reach over the top to like bring you close, and it just keeps the connection away between the shoulder and your choke.
Nice. Yeah. It was a nice one, man. So on that, man, I'd like to know, like, what do you consider your strengths and weaknesses? I've kind of mentioned it a bit, but just out of interest from your own perspective.
I've been doing like jiu-jitsu and striking the longest, but within Australia, I think my wrestling's probably become my strength. I think I do a lot of it compared to a lot of MMA guys, and I don't know why that is. Maybe I've just been lucky with the team I was able to find and the class and all that sort of stuff, but I've been able to find a really good wrestling club with good guys there. So I think my wrestling is becoming my strength. But I'd say jiu-jitsu is close second, and then striking probably last. I don't necessarily think it's a weakness, but it could definitely be better for sure.
Man, with the wrestling, I'm interested, like you keep mentioning within Australia. So obviously the big plan is to get outside of Australia. So how do you think your wrestling compares to, like, example, you could run up against a Division I wrestler, which are obviously the elite of wrestling. How would you be able to deal with them? Can you actually defend enough against a D1 wrestler, or you think you'd be totally smashed?
If it was straight wrestling, I imagine I'd get whooped. I think with my understanding of the striking and like the distance control, I think I'd make it difficult for them to get in on my hips and stuff like that. And then by the time they do, I've already got certain defenses in place. So that's what I think of the defense. And as far as offense, I think, as long as I can get them thinking high with my hands or my kicks or whatever it is, once I get a deep entry, I think I'm as good a chance as anybody to finish a takedown. So, I think it'll definitely be more difficult on both ends against obviously somebody of that caliber, but I'm constantly trying to like test my wrestling against people. So I've gone around Australia, done nationals, all that sort of stuff. I was trying to get over to do the Commonwealth Championships and all that sort of stuff, so I'd get to feel with international guys, but with the timeline, with the fights and COVID and everything, it might not happen. But I think, I don't think my wrestling is as good as theirs, but I think I'll be able to manage it with striking and distance.
Once you combine it into a full MMA, that's a good idea. I just want to know, with your wrestling, how long have you been doing that competitive wrestling?
I've been doing it now for maybe 4 or 5 years, I guess. So I didn't. That Jade Newton fight that you mentioned earlier, I started wrestling around that time. However, that was, Do you have much to do with the Sydney side of things? Have you heard of Larry Papadopoulos? Do you know him at all? I don't know.
He's kind of in the scene a bit. Good wrestler. He's a friend of mine. Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
So also, now that you've got a fight coming up, interested in what is your kind of schedule, your general schedule? What do you run through in a given week when you're working towards a fight?
I try to make sure I have at least 3 sessions of striking, jiu-jitsu and wrestling a week. So, and then I like cater depending on the fight. Like I might do more wrestling, I might do more striking, whatever. And then obviously I do fitness, like strength conditioning outside of that. And in camp specifically, so my actual schedule doesn't change a whole lot. I still spar on Saturdays, do pads on Tuesdays, Thursdays, all that sort of stuff, but everything just gets harder. So the intensity goes way up. After 2 or 3 of the classes a week, depending on the week, I'll do extra fitness after that. So it'll be like 5 5s a Shark Tank, or I might have, again, it's all 5-5s for like that
Yeah.
extra fitness stuff. But it's like, could be like battle ropes and kick shield and all, like, yeah, lots of high intensity things designed to make me very, very tired.
You mentioned in one of your interviews that 25 minutes is a bit rough. Obviously, that's a long time, man. You know, you have to really prepare for that, right?
It's cool though, because like preparing for 3-5, you go, oh man, like 3-5 is hard, blah, blah. And then you start preparing for 5-5s. And then if you have to go back to 3-5s, you're like, oh man, I only have to do 3 rounds. Like something changes within your mentality. It's like, oh, now that must be easy. And this, yeah. So it's definitely hard, but it's good for you, good mentally, like just, yeah, good to build yourself up slowly and gradually. And yeah.
Exactly. Build your spirit, and also just be prepared. If you do move to some of those big organizations, most people coming through the ranks don't usually have 5-round fights, right? So it's a bit of a surprise once they get there. So you'll already have that experience, which is a good thing.
And if I'm ready to go 5-5s and I've done it here, when I go back to 3-5s over there, all of a sudden I know that I can push the pace on those guys. So it's a mental advantage too.
Yeah, you hear that from some of the guys that have dropped down to 3s, like Dan Hooker, etc. Like they've been doing main events, so they've been doing 5s, and then they get to drop down to 3s. Like, beautiful, this is good. Only 3 rounds. Make it sound easy, right?
It does, for whatever reason, but yeah.
Yeah. Now, interested in breaking down your training when you're going for a fight. Do you work specifically like skills for that opponent, or do you actually focus more on just the conditioning and that type of thing?
No, there is. I definitely do cater it to the opponent. So I want to find out what they do well, and then I'll have a few things that I cater like my weapons against. So like if I know they've got a really good switch kick or something, I might start working on skills to counter that switch kick, so to either stop them from doing it or just to take advantage enough that I start building that lead off of that. Technique. So yeah, I'm definitely trying to tailor my game to the opponent.
Yeah. And then of your work, say you're doing stand-up, how much of your training at the moment would cater between the skills side and just the routine of hard attacking pads, etc.?
So yeah, it's a tough question. So it does definitely depend on the day and how I'm feeling. But we try as much as possible, because like I'm not the only guy in the gym. So there's other people in the gym that need to work skills as well, so they can keep improving and helping me. So a lot of the class is still very technical. And then like often after class, we'll have like, that's when we go real hard and get everybody to push me and that sort of thing.
Yep. And the strength and conditioning is something that's really come into the forefront of training MMA these days, right? Especially these days. Do you have a special person that teaches you the strength and conditioning, takes you routines, etc., or you kind of do it on your own?
No, so my coach is the person who owns the academy. His wife is my strength and conditioning coach.
Yep.
And yeah, she's been doing it now for I don't know, 3 years, maybe 2 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So she seems very intelligent. Everything she does makes sense to me, and it's given me great results. So I'm very happy with it.
Yep. And there's so much changes as well, and people paying attention to rest and recovery. Is that something that you pay attention to regularly, or you just have a basic understanding?
I try to be intelligent with rest and recovery, but it's also, I'm worried that it's easy to get too analytical about it, and then all of a sudden you're going, oh no, I need a rest, and you don't really need a rest.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to be like, it's finding that fine line, I think, between being a pussy and just getting your nose to the nose down to the grind and all that sort of stuff. So
that's true. So what would you say would be what you would use as tools for recovering your body? Because obviously you're training very hard. How do you make your body recover?
Sleep is very important. So I need to make sure I have, they say 8, I often need at least 9 hours of sleep, I feel. Yep. So yeah, the hardest part is trying to go to bed early, right? Yeah. So after school, you don't have a bedtime anymore. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like when you get home, I get home at like 9:30.
Yeah.
Eat at 10. It feels like a whole day I've been training. Now I just got to go to bed. And it's like trying to stay disciplined enough and not, watch TV or whatever that sort of thing is. So sleep's definitely the most important one.
That's true. It's very hard, isn't it, man? Like that that, like you said, you get home, like I'm the same, but I'm working. So I do a normal job. I get home, you want some downtime, right? But you're supposed to go to bed and sleep. So it's a hard playoff. You definitely have to be disciplined. Yeah.
Sleep's definitely the main one. I don't do anything, like I don't take any supplements or anything like that. No salt bars or anything. I just make sure I eat enough food as well. That's important. If you don't eat enough food, and don't really take the time to put in all the nutrients and stuff like that, you're not going to recover very well, and you're not going to have a good workout and that sort of thing. So,
do you have a nutritionist, or you actually, or you work it yourself?
I just work it myself. Go off experience and feel and stuff I've read and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure it could be better, but it's working for me at the moment. So
yeah, you got guys like the fight dietitian who I had on the show a little while back, really making it a specialist effort, right? So a lot of fighters in Australia and New Zealand, etc., are working with him. So might be something to consider in the long run, right?
100%. And like a lot of the stuff, like I'll read his stuff that he puts on Instagram, or he writes an article or something. I'll read a lot of that stuff and like try to take as much information out of those sources as possible.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing about the internet, right? We can pick up so many things. Like the internet's so broad. I mean, you can really understand what nearly all the good fighters are training in some way, or what they're following with diets, etc., just by following Instagrams and different things. It's interesting. Hey, do you do anything like sauna or ice baths when you're recovering?
No, none of it.
Haven't tried? Sounds like it's a thing to try, man, in the future, maybe.
I've never found any, like, I've never noticed the benefit, obviously, and it was, more time out of my day that was based around training and stuff. And if I didn't feel any benefit, I didn't think it was worth it, sort of thing. Plus, I don't have a sauna at home or anything like that, so I have to go out and pay a facility for a sauna, and just True. Different
things come into it, right? And so, man, going back to like the beginning of training, I was listening to a few things, but I didn't hear you mention how and why did you start martial arts training?
Well, the reason I decided to do MMA was because I watched Brock Lesnar fight Frank Mir for the first time.
Yeah.
And I was always a small guy, and I thought I always want to be like the toughest guy around. And so to see Frank Mir, who was way smaller than Brock Lesnar, just out of nowhere take this leg and finish him with I think it was a toe hold or a knee bar or something like that. I can't remember now. Yeah. But this lock on this monster, I was like, oh, I got to learn how to do that. Because, I don't know why, but being a tough guy was always important to me. But and ever since then, I just really enjoyed it and kept going with it.
So your first step was to go into BJJ, was it?
Nah, so I wanted to go to a fight gym straight away.
Yeah.
My dad just assumed I wasn't into fighting. So we went to a martial arts gym, it was called Cobra back then, which is now Wilkes Martial Arts. So it was like a karate, self-defense type style. So I learned that first. And so I did knife defense. I did all like these katas and all that sort of stuff. And it wasn't really what I wanted to do. But they did teach some cool things. Like the coach was a Muay Thai fighter, and he taught some cool striking stuff. So it sort of kept me in and kept me interested. And as soon as he said, oh, we're starting jiu-jitsu, I was like, amazing. This is exactly sort of what I wanted to do. And then it was sort of just luck, because it wasn't a fight gym. There was no fighters there. But there was another guy at the club that joined up for a sparring day. And I didn't know he could fight out of Wilkes. So I was very excited. I joined up the next show. And then, my coach, because he fought before, he's like, oh, I can be your coach if you like. And obviously, I'd love that. And so, from there, we sort of built the MMA side of the gym from there. Pretty cool.
That's great. It's what you mentioned about the different martial arts styles. I think there's something valuable in all the martial arts, right? Like when you find a good school anyway, you find a good Kyokushin school, good Taekwondo school, good Jiu-Jitsu school. There's always pieces you can take out and learn from and use in a real fight as well, right? Yeah,
definitely. As long as you have like the understanding of what would be considered the basics of MMA, branching out like 100% is like amazing. If you can get those Taekwondo kicks to work, if you can understand something from Aikido with body positioning or whatever, like you can make anything work if you understand the applications well enough.
Exactly. You see, like an example would be Rose Namajunas. Did you see I was reading about her before that. I did a fight analysis on that first fight, and I mentioned that she's got some some good kicks because of her doing taekwondo, and she just flicked it up. That was definitely a taekwondo little boom straight up to the jaw of Zhang Wei Li, and this is part of it.
Perfectly placed. She didn't see it. It was really nice.
Yeah. Exactly. So being a professional fighter isn't an easy life. You have to train so much. What drives you to get up every morning and go to bed early and keep pushing? What is it inside you that makes you different from everyone else, really?
I have thought about this a lot, and my answer is I don't really know, but I think I'm just super competitive. So whatever sport I've done, I've always wanted to be the best.
Yeah.
And I don't exactly know why that is. It's not like my life's been so hard and I needed to get out or anything like that. Just, I don't know. I really want to win, and that guy's in my way, and I think I can do it better than this guy. And I don't know. Just, competitive, I guess.
Yeah. From the start, did you feel like you were driven to go every day and train really hard? Was that sort of part of you in the early days?
Yeah, because I was smaller than everybody. So like when I was playing footy, I knew that I had to train harder than everybody if I wanted to be successful at it. So I started training, more times a week than everybody else was training and stuff like that. And as soon as I sort of stopped football, I applied that same philosophy to MMA. So I have to do more than everybody else if I want to be better than everybody else.
Yep. And what do you think, like doing MMA, what do you think people can achieve? What do you think you can achieve through MMA? What are the main rewards of being a professional MMA fighter for you? Being a tough guy, that's one of them. You mentioned that a few times, but you've achieved that goal already. You can retire.
Handle yourself. But the freedom, so obviously you don't get so much freedom to start with, but the more successful you are, the more freedom you have around like your schedule and your life. So, like a great obvious example is Conor McGregor. He's made so much money off of fighting originally, but then he was able to branch out with this Proper 12 and all these different avenues, and he's created a life for himself where he sort of doesn't really need to work 9 to 5 anymore. And not that I always want to be doing something because otherwise I get bored, but having the freedom to travel if I want to travel and take time off from my family if I want to take time off or that sort of thing, I think eventually it pays off where, you're doing something you love every day, and then, you have that freedom to do stuff if you need to do, like explore if you want to explore, sort of thing.
On that note, when I talk to some of the old school guys that have retired, that have fought for a long time, most of them have fought internationally, like some of the old UFC fighters. They fought in Japan, they fought here, they fought America. You haven't had a chance to fight overseas yet, according to your pro record, correct?
So not as a pro, but there was this thing called Gamma World Championships, and I went over and did that in Singapore. So they had people from all over the world come and fight on over 2 days. So I have fought internationally. Is
that something of interest to you? Because obviously now you're working with an Australian promotion, but if you're working with someone like UFC, you could be called to pretty much any of those major countries where they have fights. And if you can spend a bit of time there, it's got to be kind of interesting, right? It brings a bit of color to fighting.
Well, like even going to Melbourne for a fight, like, man, I get to travel for free because they want to see me fight some dudes. Like, I don't know, it's just such a cool thing to go and explore these different places. And all you have to do is fight for 15 or 25 minutes. It's just, it's a very cool thing. It's very, very enjoyable. You don't get to spend, unless you stay after the fight, you don't get to enjoy this, like the place as much as you'd like to, because you're thinking about the fight and like, you don't want to burn yourself out or anything like that. Like going, but it's definitely a cool thing to be in the place where, like, nevertheless.
That's it, man. I think the plan would be once you get there, make sure you've got a couple of days afterwards. Cause that's what happens, man. I went one place, just jiu-jitsu competition, but I went to a place, Taiwan.
Yep.
And I had to cut weight. So I get there a few days early, like an idiot, and I'm starving myself. They got all this amazing food, like sweet food and everything. And I'm eating like boiled vegetables and stuff. And then gets to the competition day. I have the competition. I placed second in my division. Then I left. I had to leave like that day and go back to work. I like really got it around the wrong way, like I should have been there for a couple of days after.
100%. You don't get to enjoy it as much if you are there early.
And then on the MMA side, like we're talking about what you can achieve, like is travel. What about the money side of things? Like I know, or I hear the money perspective in Australia is pretty poor. Is that correct? Or what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I couldn't make a living out of just fighting in Australia, but I never expected to. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you fight for money, especially at this stage, you should choose something else. There's a lot of things that are a lot easier on your mind and your body than fighting. So yeah, if main priority is money, get a trade, go to university, whatever. If I like fighting, and then if I can make a living out of it, that's amazing. That's what I'd like to do. But you're not going to see that pay off for like many, many years. So yeah.
So then if we look at that as, you know, obviously money isn't the reward for fighting at this point. So it obviously is a bit of a personal achievement perspective, right? Like what you're doing and how you feel about yourself, being a good MMA fighter, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And just something I was thinking too, like you've been training in your gym. You mentioned that you're the only pro in the gym, that you got some good, strong amateurs there, but you're the only pro. I imagine you probably work with a few other pros in the area from Western Australia. But have you thought about going to one of the big pro gyms like AKA or something? Because I just can imagine that, you know, what you've got now is good enough for what you're doing. But if you want to take that next step, it will be really beneficial for you to maybe even do some stints in one of these overseas gyms that are heavily wrestling based with like your style. I feel like AKA would be a really good gym for your style, right? You like the wrestling, you like ground fighting, plus you've got your stand up. It's kind of their style in a way. I think that would really suit you.
Yeah, I agree. And AKA is one that I have looked at. That being said, I'd like to go there and train for 3 months or something. But I really do think that WA has the talent and all the facilities we need to be good. I don't think we need to go and move to America and train at those gyms to be the best. And I think Rob Whittaker's a sort of an example of that. He's in Sydney and he's training there. He's created an amazing gym and he got to become the best in the world. I think we can do the same as long as all the gyms are amicable. And at the moment, everybody seems to be trying to help everybody out and realize that we can create something big if we help each other out. So,
yeah, it's been proven, right? Like Volk, and then you look over at the Kiwi guys too. They're doing great in their area. That obviously New Zealand's not known for wrestling, etc. But just got to think like sometimes there's obviously more of an MMA scene with more volume in countries like America, Brazil, etc. So that would be the benefit, that you would have a lot more high level training partners. I'd imagine the skill of people coaching, etc. I think is probably something we can match, but maybe not the volume of people you can train with, right?
Yeah, well, that's true for sure. But the flip side is like you get less attention as well. So at some of these, some of those gyms, there's so many pros and the coaches have to get to so many people. You don't get that one-on-one time. Whereas at like my gym and a lot of gyms here, there's 2 or 3 guys that are really good and they get the bulk of the instructor's time. And I think something can be said for that one-on-one time.
Yeah, true. That's why it would be ideal what you mentioned. If you just went over there for like a 3-month stint or something, then you're based in Australia, but you're getting that extra bit of time with different people, etc. Is that something that was on the cards, or it's not possible at the moment for you?
It's definitely on the cards. With COVID, it obviously screwed everything around a little bit. But I was looking into before COVID and everything. I basically had something locked up to go and train somewhere, and then stuff fell through, and that was what it was. But 100% going to get somewhere eventually.
Difficult times. That sounds exciting. I'd really like to see it. Now, from your perspective, man, you seem like a cool guy, like relaxed. You seem like your everyday sort of guy. Then you're getting in the cage, fighting against killers, other guys that are training to smash you. How do you deal with that psychological preparation? Like, what's your way of dealing with that pressure and that stress?
Hard training. So when I was talking about this actually the other day, it's like as I get older, I feel like when you're not in camp, you always feel soft. You're like, oh man, I got to do this again and blah, blah. Do I still have that mongrel in me? Is life too easy? All that sort of stuff. And then like you have your first hard day of camp and you have to like dig deep and you're, oh yeah, there it is. Like, screw this guy, F you, blah, blah. It's like, I definitely think if you don't push yourself hard enough, you're going to be nervous and you're not going to have that like fire, but as soon as you do those hard rounds, like that dude is making me do all this shit. Like he's gonna pay, like sort of thing. I think that's what drew it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then on the day, so obviously it's a very nerve-wracking thing. You wake up in the morning, and by nighttime you're going to be jumping in the cage in front of however many thousand people. Even there, when you get up, when you go to the arena, you're in the back room. What goes through your mind, and how do you bring yourself up to the right mindset to be able to jump in there and perform?
So every fight's different. A lot of fights, like if I wake up in the morning, I'm trying to watch like kids movies or something like that. So I'm just not thinking about anything aggressive. It's relaxed. But there've been a few fights where I've been like extra nervous for. So like felt like I needed that like pick me up. So I watched like a Muhammad Ali highlight or something like that, just get me going. And when I get to the arena, I just honestly like my coaches and people around me just talking mad shit about whatever. Just cracking jokes and stuff. So lighthearted out the back, and then as soon as it's time to warm up, then I'm hitting hard. I'm getting in that mind space. But before the actual warm up, I try to make everything as lighthearted as possible.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah. Now, I've only got a couple more questions for you. I know you said you like to follow UFC, etc. So I've got a couple of questions about fighters. But before I get to the UFC, I want to know, you and Sean Etchell, if you had a fight, who wins?
Obviously me.
Obviously, how are you going to win it?
How am I going to win? I'm going to choke him unconscious. I think he's pretty tough, so I think he won't tap. So I think he's going out. Yeah.
Cool. No worries. I want to try and have a chat with him one day. So I'll see what he says and we'll put him together. All right, bro.
I like him, even though I want to like beat his face in, but yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So on the moving up again a few tiers, Kara France, killer from New Zealand. How would you go against Kai?
That's obviously a very tough fight. I think he's more explosive than anything else. Like he is technical, but he's not the most technical. So I think I would outpoint him, make him miss, and then eventually I think he'll wear down faster than me just because he's exerting more effort. And at the moment, I imagine he'll go to the scorecards, but give me a couple of years and I think I'll finish him.
So you feel like at this point in time, you might take him on points, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's good. And so last one, Brandon Moreno, the champion. What are you going to do with Brandon?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. He got really good scrambles. So him moving forward, he's 100% going to move forward, and I'd be moving backwards for sure. So keeping my range, like length, as best as possible. And then anytime he gets in, I'd be looking to shoot or elbow or something like that. For him, for sure, I'd want to be on top if I can, because he's going to be moving forward the whole time. It's going to be a grueling fight. So can win, but at the moment, that's a really hard fight.
Yeah, true. Now, it's good to see your confidence, but you're still realistic and really imagining what, the skill against skill. So that's a good thing, man. Yeah. Anyway, Stephen, I just wanted to say thank you very much for giving me your time. I'll definitely be interested in seeing your upcoming fights and paying attention to how you go in the future, and wish you all the best.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you having me, and have a good night.
No worries, man.